Taking the best elements from Lucasfilm Limited Star Wars movie, the engaging heroes, the horrific aliens, the terrorizing Imperial forces, the thrilling flying and fighting, the strange settings, and the mystifying powers of the Force, and adding interactivity. Players can choose to be Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, or Chewbacca to do battle with the dark side of the Force.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Jason here, the Overwhelmed Gamer. And today we're diving headfirst into a galaxy far, far away, and we are talking Super Star Wars for the SNES. So for those that know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but for whatever reason, I have a ton of Star Wars games that I need to play because I had this thing in my head back in the day where if a Star Wars game, book, or something came out, I passed on it just because I figured they were going to ruin it or was going to be bad and kind of ruin my experience. But now I'm going back and playing a lot of these Star Wars games, and I started with Super Star Wars, and I'm glad that I did. This game is brutally difficult, but there's lots of good, I guess. I don't know. Let's see how Super Star Wars holds up. Released in 1992 by LucasArts and developed by Sculptured Software, Super Star Wars was the first in a trilogy of SNES games adapting the original Star Wars movie. It combines fast-paced action, side-scrolling platforming, and vehicle sequences that really do capture the magic of the franchise. But let's not mince words. This game is tough as balls. From the moment you boot up the game, it wastes no time in throwing you into the action. You start as Luke Skywalker, running through deserts of Tatooine, blasting Jawas, dodging falling debris. I don't actually remember in the first movie when Luke Skywalker went on a Jawa murdering spree, but that's what you get. The game actually takes a few liberties that way, so don't expect like a 100% one-on-one adaptation between the game and the movie. There's some things like you actually fight the chess piece from the Millennium Falcon as one of the bosses. The first boss in this game is the Sarlacc Pit, which actually you don't come across in the movie trilogy until Return of the Jedi, but I don't think it detracts from the game at all. The first level is actually pretty manageable, but do not get too comfortable, I'm telling you, because the difficulty curve isn't just steep, it's practically a vertical wall. Let's talk difficulty real quick. The enemies throughout the game are relentless. I mean, I'm telling you, they do not stop. And the bosses have a lot of, it feels like RNG to them. So there's plenty of times where I fought a boss, lost horribly, went back in, used the exact same strategy, and was able to win. So you can't get too frustrated with that. You just have to know you're going to be playing the bosses over and over again at some point. Most difficult part about Star Wars is when you die. The checkpoints are all right. It brings you back to a checkpoint after you've died, but the problem is you lose all the upgrades that you have received from your weapons, and you start over with just your single blaster. And some points it makes it nearly impossible to continue the stage, so you're better off just starting back over from scratch and making sure you get back to your place where you were with all your weapon upgrades. Otherwise, it can be nearly impossible. And don't even get me started on the sandcrawler stage. The platforming in this one is super precise, and the controls don't help all that much. The controls aren't bad by any means, but some of the jumping and precision is, you feel a little floaty, I guess is the best way to describe it, and that can get really frustrating. It took me a while to get up to the top of that sandcrawler stage, and when I did, I was just so relieved. But it also gives you a huge sense of accomplishment when you do finish a difficult section. Despite its brutal difficulty, Super Star Wars has a charm that just keeps you coming back for more. If you're a Star Wars fan, the visuals are gorgeous for the time. The detailed sprites and vibrant environments really bring the Star Wars universe alive, and the soundtrack is absolute perfection. The game's soundtrack is a phenomenal adaptation of John Williams' iconic score. Combine that with the authentic sound effects, the blaster shots and the lightsaber swings are spot on. This game, it really shows off what the Super Nintendo was able to accomplish with its sound. And then there are vehicle stages. Whether you're speeding across the Dune Sea in the land speeder or taking on the Death Star in an X-Wing, those sections of the game really add variety, and they're very well done as well. You don't feel disconnected at all when you go from the side scrolling to a vehicle stage. It's great, and it's a lot of fun. But don't think for a second that it's easier. One wrong move and yeah, it's game over. So is Super Star Wars worth all the frustration? Absolutely, but it is not for the faint of heart. If you're a Star Wars fan and a retro video game fan, I highly recommend that you give this one a chance. Even though I own the cartridge, to be perfectly honest, I did end up playing a digital copy so I could utilize those save states, because it comes to a point where the game gets so brutally difficult that I just didn't have the time to keep starting the game over to get better and better. And to be honest, I don't know that you can. I'm sure somebody out there has figured it out, but this game is, I can't stress enough how brutal this game is. But even with that said, it's still definitely worth a playthrough, even if you want to just play the cartridge and not get all the way through it, just to experience it, hear the sound, see the graphics for the Super Nintendo. It was really great, and I'll definitely be playing through Empire and Jedi as well. I want to know what your thoughts on Super Star Wars were, though. Did you play it before? Have you played it and rage quit it? I'm really curious out there, especially want to know if anybody's played it all the way through without save states. That's super impressive. Let me know what you thought of Super Star Wars. Is it something you've played before? I'm really curious to see what other people's opinions are. So please leave a comment, do that whole subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of fun stuff, especially if you're into retro and homebrew gaming. Yeah, that's it for this one. We will see you next time. May the Force be with you. Late.